Hi, and with the announcement today from Ian Hazakostas at Gamescom that 7.3 Shadows of Argus is going live next week, I thought it was about time I started the series I've been waiting to do for a while on spoilers and speculation. This isn't just about what's coming in Argus that I am going to talk about in that video. It's also about what's going to come after it, immediately after it, and the next expansion, because we've been dropped enough hints about it, and I want to talk about that. In this first episode, I want to talk about what we're going to find out on Argus itself. In the second video, I want to come back to the Old Gods link into the content that's to come after Argus. And then in the final video, I want to talk about what I think may be coming up in the next expansion, which we're not going to find out about this week. It looks like now that's going to wait for BlizzCon. So, when it comes to patch 7.3, what's going to happen? We've already seen Argus in the sky after Illidan's trickery. It turns out that Valen was hiding an inflatable shuttle somewhere on the Exodar. So we're going to be told to go to the Exodar. Somehow we're going to be told we need to go by stealth. So we're going to take a big ship with us. Now, I'm not quite sure how that's more stealthy than just taking a portal there, the usual mode of travel, but whatever. So we go by ship to the Exodar, get onto his inflatable shuttle. It turns out he's lost the key and we need to use our artifact weapon to jumpstart it, and then we're all off to Argus. We've seen the cinematic. They showed that at Gamescom, the first of many cinematics that we're going to see when we do the various quests, and it's very quest heavy, this patch as well. If you're very much into your quests and you really like your storylines, you're going to love this patch. If you're less bothered about that, ooh, okay, but there's a few other things of interest. Now, one of the very early points of interest is going to be the family issues of Turalyon and especially Illyria. Both of these guys, huge lore characters, but where have they been? They haven't featured at all in World of Warcraft up to this point. And more importantly, if you think about a lot of the storylines in World of Warcraft, where have they come from? Warcraft 3. They weren't in Warcraft 3 either. They disappeared in Warcraft 2, never to be seen until now. Now, there are a number of consequences of this. The first of which is Arator is not best pleased with his parents for leaving him alone for all those years. But most importantly, Illyria is one of 3 Windrunner sisters. Now, who's the most famous? Sylvanas, of course. She doesn't know that Sylvanas is leader of the Horde. You do see a scene where the other sister, Varisa, is telling her that she is the leader of the Horde. Illyria can't really believe it, but we don't see her tell her that, oh, by the way, she's also undead. So there's going to be fireworks there at some point. There are also a number of flashbacks. We get a lot of the history of Argus at the time when the Triumvirate, the leaders of the Eredar, that is Valen, Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, were all as brothers, effectively, at peace with each other, all the best of pals, and then the coming of Sargeras. In fact, in the cinematic we saw today, Illidan is even poking at Valen, telling him that he has just stood by and allowed this to happen. Valen not terribly agreeing there. Now, after the reveal that Sargeras had killed off the Pantheon of Titans from the Warcraft Chronicles, we'd assumed them all to be properly dead. There was an attempt to fuse their souls with the Keepers on Azeroth. That didn't work out. We thought that was it. But it turns out Sargeras has been gathering up their souls and trying to turn them under his own command. He succeeds with Agramar. Agramar is one of the Titans we're going to be fighting in the new raid, but that's not coming for another couple of months. Agramar was very much the protege of Sargeras and was appalled when Sargeras turned away from the Pantheon and made it his mission to hunt him down. Agramar also really fancying the bit of Sargeras' sword to go with his own. But Agramar has been brought under the heel of Sargeras now. We're going to have to fight him. Other Titan souls have been captured, and there's a Titan, Eonar, the Lifebinder, that's particularly important to Sargeras, but he hasn't been able to track her down yet. That's one of the encounters as well. We basically need to save her effectively. What Sargeras is trying to do is to bring up a dark pantheon to wage his burning crusade. In order to defeat Sargeras, we have to destroy the Titan soul bound within Argus. This is the final encounter of the raid. Ultimately, Amonthul, leader of the Pantheon, announces that he and his Titans will imprison Sargeras within Argus forever. It will require that they sacrifice themselves to do this. In addition, Illidan himself, who appears, I've only seen snippets of this from the PTR, he appears to fall in and out of favour of various members of the Army of the Light. In fact, Turalyon doesn't look like he likes him one little bit in a bit I've seen on there. But Illidan himself sacrifices himself and becomes, as Velen describes it, the Dark Titan's jailer. So the Burning Crusade, at this point, this is the final encounter of that raid, is over. The Burning Crusade is finished. Sargeras is permanently taken out of the picture. Doesn't mean demons disappear. Of course, there were demons before the Burning Crusade, and there will be demons after the Burning Crusade, just like there were undead before the Scourge and the Lich King, and undead after it as well. But they will not be organised into a Burning Crusade as they had been under Sargeras. So then we come on to the final raid of Legion. No, not this one, but there's a hint at another raid. Ian Hazzikostas, in an interview this week, was asked about another raid, and it sort of makes sense if you think about the timing. Let's say that Antorus, the Burning Throne, comes out round about October, mid-October, just for the sake of argument. That's round about the time it might be expected. And Blizzard keeps saying they expect a raid tier to last 4 or 5 months. Well, that still puts it maybe towards the end of the first quarter of 2018. That's not when the new expansion's coming out, or any time close to it. The new expansion will be coming out after summer of 2018. Soon after summer or late after summer, who knows. But the back end of 2018, surely. They haven't even announced that new expansion yet, much less begun the open alpha and beta testing process, which is what makes Blizzard expansions so much better when they go live than many other MMOs expansions. One thing they've been very clear to do in Legion is to make sure that there's no accusations of a content drought. This would be fatal to the success of Legion. It's no good bringing out this regular content all the way through, only to fall at the final hurdle. So they will very much be bringing out content throughout. But also, it's no good just bringing out new world quests or new scenarios. All that content is fine, but there needs to be some real meat to a new patch. Now, the speculation doesn't begin and end there. When Ian Hazzikostas was interviewed, he specifically said there's going to be no more big raid. And he also said there's not going to be any Ruby Sanctum type raid. So what he's basically saying, there's no more raids with like 9 or 10 bosses in it, like Nighthold and Tomb of Sargeras. But also, there's no single raid bosses. That does not exclude 3 or 4 bosses in a raid such as Trial of Valor. So that's where we come on to. So there's going to be another raid. We're not officially confirmed, but it makes sense. For them to avoid this accusation of a content drought at the end, something has to come in. They know that the Ruby Sanctum was not a popular end to the Wrath of the Lich King. They also know they can't bring out a big one because, you know, they need to free up raiders to do the testing of alpha and beta content without, for everyone else, it seeming to be that there's no new content coming out. This makes perfect sense. And the fact that he's not categorically saying no more raid, he's only saying no more big raid and no more itty-bitty single boss raid, seems to suggest it. So what could it be about? Well, for that, I want to talk about the Whispers of Il'gynoth. One of the bosses clearly aligned with the old gods in the Emerald Nightmare. There were a number of people who were speculating on what his whispers meant at the start of Legion. We didn't have enough information. We now have a great deal more information. So in my next part, I'm going to be discussing what Il'gynoth may have meant with several of his whispers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share for further content, in particular to be notified of the next part of this video, which will be coming out tomorrow. And until next time, I'll see you later.